Hello, welcome to Court of the Rings on twitch.tv/LOTRO stream. I'm your community manager, Cordovan, and I'm going to be with you for the next hour. I have got a guest. Let's get right to it. I believe you are unmuted. I believe everything is good. Hello, Orion. How you doing?
Cannot hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Yes.
Oh, that's correct. One mute button out of 3 was still
I know,
unmuted,
right?
So
Four or five always have to be on at the same time. Good to be with you.
welcome, Orion, lead systems designer for The Lord of the Rings Online, and the key author of our letter to the players that went live this week. So welcome, everyone. We're going to take, well, let's say at least the first third of the show. We'll just kind of have to see how the Q&A goes and all that on this. So talk a little bit about the letter to the players. So welcome, everyone. Hope you're having a great Friday. We'll have some news afterwards. We can tell you a little bit about our upcoming schedule for the next few weeks. Talk a little bit about the bull roar that was this weekend. If there's any time left, get to a little gameplay. Although I suspect today may be mostly a kind of news and info show because we've got you here with us. So let's frame this a little bit. For those who are perhaps joining us for the Lord of the Rings Online for the first time, the letter to the players has been something that you've been doing now for at least a year on a quarterly basis, maybe even a couple of years at this point.
Yeah, I think it has been a couple of years. I mean, what we're trying to do is just give a shorter time frame where we know exactly what we're doing um, with the upcoming changes and improvements or updates to the game, and that's kind of what we do at the outset of the year, and then we try to get out quarterly. I know we missed the last quarter last year, but things got really busy toward the end of the year.
All of 2025 was a blur. It was funny when we do this letter to the players and we think back to where we were a year ago. Coming back from our holiday break, it was, all right, within the next couple of weeks, we'll get the transfer started. It'll take a couple of months. And after like 60 days, we'll be done with it, and then we can focus on the rest of the year.
And that's going to go smoothly. We're not going to have any trouble with that at all, right? No, I mean, that was the intent. And of course, the intent did not exactly come across the way that it was supposed to. But I mean, ultimately, by the end of the year, everything panned out and things.
Yeah, and we were able to deliver most of what was in the letter. But that's really why I'm bringing that up, though, is that these are really a roadmap of where we are today. Reality often sends you off a cliff or around a corner, or perhaps the thing that you said you were going to do, you're still doing, but in perhaps a slightly different way. And so anything you see us talk about today is where our heads are at today. It is our plan for today, and we'll see if we get there. But part of the reason of this letter, I know you did some work to be a little less speculative, shall we say, perhaps, in our letter to the players.
Yeah, we're definitely less speculative. Everything that's in here is something that is currently being worked on in some way, shape, or form, and is planned to be delivered at this point.
So the first thing, let's just get right to it. The first thing we're going to do for next is update 46.1. That is going to be coming out. Current release date on that, and most likely the final release date on that will be January 28th. There had been some earlier chatter from me that we were at one point aiming for the 21st, but we have some additional work to get done. So that is now the 28th of January here. That 46.1 is going to come out.
Yeah, and really that's a result of the bull roars coming off of the winter break for us. What we were finding and what the players were reporting were a number of changes and updates that we were planning with the instances and with a lot of the classwork just needed a little more polish and a little more time. So we decided that we needed to push it by a week, make sure that we got as much done as we possibly could to iron out some of those issues and make sure that the classes ended up in the state that we really wanted them to be in by the time that it went out live for 46.1.
Right, and we don't get too much more into 46.1 in this letter. If we have time at the end of the letter to the players, maybe we can revisit some of the class discussion and UI scaling and bits like that. But for now, perhaps let's move on to what I think might be the first formal new bit of news in the producers, or the letter to the players here. We don't call it a producer's letter because you're not technically a producer. But you're a lead systems designer who acts. You're doing a lot of the
lead
role.
designer.
Yeah,
lead designer. I do producer stuff too.
There are things like you do that are somewhat producer-like. You know,
Yeah, I just do it. It kind of needs to be done.
yeah,
It's
we all wear many
just
hats
what it
here.
is. Very, very much so.
Sometimes I get so trained because we do have a formal producer on the DDO side who does these letters, and so if I'm not thinking carefully, I'll let it slip.
All
But it's a
good.
letter to the players, which is a more accurate way to describe it. Anyway, my main point was the first bit of new information is next month. Folly of Kings is the name of it. So what's in Folly of Kings?
Folly of Kings is the deliverable of the raid, which we're hoping to get into bull roar as soon as we possibly can. I know that we've been testing it internally, making some adjustments to it. Some quality of life updates. The biggest one probably being the enhancement, or I should say, the start of the support for UI scaling that we've been testing and undergoing inside of the bull roar for the past few weeks now.
Well, actually,
Um,
let me pause there, though. My
yeah,
understanding is that was 46.1. Is that not the case?
46.1 is the start of that, but
Okay.
47 will be some more minor tweaks and updates. We aren't we do actually have even more planned in that over the course of the year, but
Hmm.
there's some external development that we're still kind of waiting on to get in so that we can continue with those enhancements. It's going to be an ongoing thing for a lot of the 4K stuff that's been happening, or the UI
Right.
UI support. It's 46.1 will be the first element of that, and then we'll continue to work on things as we continue forward. A lot of the other quality of life pieces that are in there are just long-standing bugs that we needed to get to, that we've been wanting to try to address over the course of sometimes years, trying to make sure that things just are getting better overall for players. We're also adding in some more missions and some more quests to fill out the remainder of Merjala as part of the expansion that we put out in December. And it lays the groundwork for a whole bunch of new stuff for the Spring Festival that'll be coming out in mid March. At least I think what you've got right now on
I
the
Yeah,
community events plan.
I do. Now, do we want to tease a little bit more about the Spring Festival? Are we thinking about doing something to it like we did for some of the other festivals in 2025? That is, perhaps do a little bit of an expansion of it.
It's not as robust an enhancement as we did for the Midsummer's Festival. I think if I recall correctly, MVP has about 10 to I think it's 10-ish new quests that are being set up, and it's a kind of a going back into um, some of the missions and whatnot that are part of the Spring Festival. And another thing that we're actually looking at doing now is also, this is not related to the Spring Festival, but another thing that we're actually going to be putting in is a repeatable quest, like the one we introduced with the Yule Festival this year, where embers can be traded in for virtues, because that seems to be something that players really enjoyed, and we're planning on updating that too for the 47 timeline.
Awesome. So, before we get to the main roadmap, I would just say this is not a full year roadmap. This is just a Q1 and Q2 roadmap. So,
Definitely not the full year. This is just the first two releases. Uh, we do have the plan for the full year, but as we said at the outset, it's not necessarily going to be the case that there won't be something that comes up along the way, and we need to make sure that we're not overpromising on what we can get done. In the off chance that things actually hit us and kind of derail what we're trying to work on at any point in time. So the goal will be that we'll be hitting these different quarterly updates, and we'll provide more information as we get closer to each of them and give you that 6 month window like we tried to start doing last year.
we also released the name of Update 48 in this letter, A Glorious Hunt. I don't believe it had been
Yes.
discussed before. That's going to include our 19th anniversary in April, along with two bits that clearly we should discuss a little bit, which is a new quest pack in a new zone and the release of
Yes.
Rivendell housing. So let's talk about the quest pack first.
Sure.
New zone? Question mark?
The new zone, yeah. So we are, as is alluded to later in the letter, we're going to be leaving the area of Harad soon. So what we're doing with this new zone is actually heading even further south out of Merjala into a new area below it, where Mizadi is continuing on with her attempt to bring back Hamat. So it's kind of the conclusion to the Mizati arc that we're going to be working toward, and closing out a lot of the story that actually was begun uh, shortly after the Corsairs of Umbar and the Legacy of Morgoth.
Rivendell housing is probably one of the biggest bullet points in this letter to the players. Now, Rivendell housing, it's kind of funny. In some ways, Rivendell housing exists because of the community bringing it up as a question
It
at one
does.
of the player meetups, I believe, and it's sort of pinning Severlin in a corner and him saying, okay, we'll do Rivendell housing or something like that.
And then, of course, Scenario was more than happy to jump on that and make sure that it would happen. So yeah, it's been a long time coming. It's been something that's been in the works for quite a while. A lot of this, a lot of the reason why it has been kind of, I won't say delayed and pushed off, but why it took so long to actually come to fruition is just the dearth of assets that we really wanted to provide players for the housing itself. So we've got a lot of new assets that are going to be available for the actual housing. There's a lot more that's going to be available for not just elven architecture, but for the elven decorations inside of the homes that we're planning on putting out. And some of them are pretty cool that we've been able to see so far. But yeah, it's been a long time coming, and it's one of those things that we're really kind of excited to get out there. And we figured that the anniversary was the perfect timeline to put something out that would be as large as this. Just another little piece of Middle Earth that you can move into, and not to spur even further speculation, but Scenario knows where he wants to go next, and it may be in an area of the world that people wouldn't necessarily expect.
Sorry, folks, my phone was on my desk, and the buzzing from my notifications might be coming through the mic. I have now moved that. Sorry about that. So,
So yeah, that's where we are with the Rivendell housing too. It's exciting to be able to be expanding the housing system as much as we've been able to over the years.
yeah.
And as Scenario and I were talking about the other day, in we have a cave troll. That's one of the things we're kind of really looking forward to this year, with regards to kinship and potentially hopefully opening up additional kinship homes at some point this year.
About really all we'd say on Rivendell housing that I have as well is that we do have plans to get it onto Bullroar. We do have plans. I know Scenario is looking at preview streams when the timing
Mhm.
is right for it. So we should be able to get you plenty of good preview content, and you'll get the chance to see it yourself here in the coming months.
Oh yeah, that's definitely something we want to be able to do.
All right, I think we've covered the news of the letter to the players. Late May, early June is our kind of estimated time frame for the new six-person instance.
Yes. So the idea being that the raid and I don't call it the race, but the desire to get the world, not the world first, the leading the charge elements will probably take at least a month, maybe a little bit longer, and we're trying to space out the work a little bit better, considering that the early part of the release for 40 update 48 will give us the delving system upgrading, which will give some players that aren't really interested in the raid the ability to do some of that catch up there, and then enable us to let them get into the new 6-player instance once that's available. And that will be tied directly into the new region. It's all part of that same area of the world.
A couple of questions I am seeing in chat. Oh, I saw in chat until I just cleared my chat by accident. One person had a question about the missions and I believe it was reputation.
Yeah, why
Yes.
why are missions not giving out reputations? So part of the reason of that is we did add in. Okay, this is going to be a discussion on some of the changes coming in 46.1.
Okay.
So we tried something a little different with the addition of those new daily quests and weekly quests that were available that are designed for the different regional world event quests. Those were a little too hidden, and the manner that we wanted to try to get them out to players did not work the way that we expected. And as a result, we're going back and putting those onto to bounty boards inside of the major settlements. So Solmadash will have one, Zajana will have one, Jaret Manesh will have one, and the Dun Warden's encampment will have one. So you'll be able to get those quests directly from those locations in the U46.1 update, you'll see which ones actually rotate on a daily and over the course of a week, and then the weekly basis. Those were supposed to be the primary vector by which you got most of the reputation inside of the new expansion, along with the pieces that you can pick up off the ground, or those things that drop off of uh, the different signature or better monsters in the Edagal area.
Which are pretty tough. Man, I got ruffle stomped
They,
on one
they
of them
are.
just the other day.
They can be pretty tough. But that was the initial way to handle it. We haven't actually made the decision that everything's going to go onto missions in the next update, because we think that there are still enough reputation ways to get the reputation available. But if that is something that we need to do for 47, then we'll make that decision and put that into update 47 if necessary.
I am seeing a few questions. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Finish your.
No. That was it. That was
okay. I am seeing a few questions that sadly are really more suited to an executive producer. That would be someone like Severlin rather than myself or you, Orion. So, Orion. So some of the things about two-factor authentication, it is still on our agenda, but perhaps Severlin could speak more to that. You are not directly involved with much game performance related work other than where it impacts systems and doing things like that. So some of the questions about game performance are probably better suited to Severlin as well. And I can speak.
I mean, I can answer some of them if they're lower hanging fruit questions.
Well, it's just that there's multi-tiers to it, right? So specifically, if we're going to talk a little bit about performance, and sure, that sounds fine. The first thing I would mention is we had some issues this week with login. I think we had 3 or 4 at least incidents this week where login has been unstable. That is not really directly tied to the game performance work. That's an environmental issue that we're working actively on this week to resolve. So some of the frustration that you've had this week regarding kind of login and game experience is tied to that, which is both for good and bad a short-term issue. Bad in that it's happening far more often than we'd like this week, but good in that we are working on a resolution for it, and we will get that sorted here as soon as we can, really. So when we come to more wider term performance work, what's on your agenda, I guess, specifically, Orion?
Yeah, so what we know right now is that the efforts that our engineering team put in last year have helped us turn a corner in identifying a lot of the more major issues with regard to a lot of the performance issues that we've seen over the years. Performance has gotten better. It's not perfect, and it's not exactly where we want it at this point. We're making more efforts to change and improve those performance pieces. Some of those are actually going to be part of the U46.1 release. And we've been seeing that on Bull Roar, and we know that these changes should have an even more positive impact. There does seem to be things that we are currently looking into, and we're putting in more logging to see exactly where the issues are springing up. That when we are starting to head back into a new week, specifically after weekends, where we're seeing that the performance does start to degrade on the larger servers. And so we're putting in some more logging to determine where that's happening and to figure out exactly how we can streamline that and fix that. We're at the point now where the efforts that we are putting in are targeting the more egregious areas that still exist. Now that we've identified a lot of the underlying issues that were causing the biggest parts of the performance and latency that we were seeing over the past several years. So not done yet, not going to sideline that. It's going to continue going on. And I'm sure when you do have an opportunity to talk to Severlin at some point, he will give you a much deeper dive on it. But I can at least give you that top layer of what we're looking at and what we're working on.
I have heard from Severlin that sometime, quote, in the next few weeks, we'll get him on for a show. It's just a matter of kind of getting the schedules together. Yeah, well, he also
pin him down.
Part of the problem is he actually has stuff he has to do on Fridays at noon, so
yes,
it can be a little tricky. I mean, he's the executive producer, but he ain't out golfing. He's doing
that's
stuff.
True.
So
very true.
Yeah, he actually has things he has to do on Friday at noon Eastern. So. All right. I have seen this come up a couple of times. I don't think this is really directly something that you can address, Ryan, but we have a cosmetic outfit bug. I think they're talking about the thing where if you equip the fishing pole, your cosmetic outfit item in the wardrobe gets unequipped. and then you have to re-equip it into the wardrobe. And it's annoying people because every time they want to go fishing, they have to like resort their cosmetic items and have it displayed correctly. Have you heard anything
Huh.
about our ability to fix that?
I have not. It's a good bug though, and we should make sure that it's actually in the queue because that sounds like something that would be not too difficult to fix if we can identify exactly what's causing it.
Yeah, it has to do with the sort of nature of the fishing pole as a two-handed item, is in
Yeah,
part my
that would make
understanding of it.
sense.
Yeah.
That would make sense. Yeah, we'll have to take a look at it. I'll see if there's a bug on it, and if there's not, I'll make sure that there's one that's been entered.
This one is from Egarther. Is the previously referenced multi-year crafting revamp project considered done? Is it still in progress with more difficult stuff like the multi-resource tracking, tier skips, etc.? This relates to some of the discussion you've had in
Mhm.
years past about work to that we've done over the past year or so on crafting.
Sadly, we didn't really get to it a lot last year at
Mm-hmm.
all. So the answer is no. The long-term goal is to still find a way to improve crafting overall. As I discussed last year, the difficulty came in when we got deeper into trying to unlock crafting across the different bands so that you didn't have that situation where you had to level up all the way in order to get the newest one for like Umbar. Like if we had said, I think it was right around the time of Umbar that we wanted to make it so that you could go from tier 1 crafting and just do tier 16 crafting or 15 crafting at the time immediately. And unfortunately, the way that the crafting system was built out initially made it very difficult for us to even consider that. And we didn't discover that until we got really deep into the weeds. Uh, so if we want to make that happen, it would really take a complete revising and very likely restructuring and redesign of the overall crafting system. Um, we are planning on adding in more crafting. I think that's still on the agenda for 47, for 48, sorry. It's not 100% confirmed yet. But it is something that I know we are looking to do to move up another craft guild tier and make sure that we keep crafting as relevant as we can as we continue to extend the game. Kind of a long-winded answer, but yeah, we are still looking at it, and we're still trying to figure out ways that we can make it and streamline it a little bit more.
Couple of player suggestion requests. This from APUK. I just reached level 160. Spent an hour and a half looking at traceries. Is it possible to put a search box in the legendary item panel?
Oh,
I don't know if it's possible. That would be someone above my pay grade, as it were, who
in
knows
the
this stuff.
in the legendary item itself, or
Well, that's a good question. I just
in
have
the
what I had
barter?
in
I
text.
assume I
I assume
assume
they mean
that,
the UI
they mean
there.
the barter
Yeah,
UI, right?
yeah, that's what I would think.
Uh, yeah, that is an unfortunate no at this point. We and I mean the development team, we're not pleased with the way that that works because it's a very cumbersome system. It's a very cumbersome UI to have to work through. Uh, there are there are proposals that we have for making that a more accessible UI. It's just not near the top of what we're working on yet. But there is a desire to make the acquisition of any of the traceries that you would get from the library easier overall.
We also have a request to get some work done on the quest tracker. Eros says there are times, especially when there's a lighter background, that reading the tracker can be difficult.
So the coloration, I assume this is on the map itself.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish there was a way we could change the colors or let you change the colors. Uh, that would be something that we can put on the list, but I don't necessarily know when it would happen. It would definitely not be something for this year. It might be something for a later year.
Ponton asks, are there plans for avatar updates in 2026, like another race, like a Hobbit Dwarf? Basically, we're
Uh,
doing an avatar update in 2026. I think I
So
kind of know the answer, but I don't know if we're in a position to really say it yet.
I think it's safe to talk about what we're looking at this year. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had those conversations there, and the art team is aware of what we're looking at, and so this is breaking news, right? So it's one of those things where we would love to be able to do all of it all at once,
Mhm.
but we have to be careful about it because of the resources that we have, and the one that we're looking at most for this year is Beorning because it would give us the ability um, to focus on some of the longer standing issues that still exist on the human side, and also make it better for the Beornings overall. Uh, what that would mean is still kind of a question, but I know one of the things that we as the design side are really looking for is uh, a way that we can extend some of the Beorning usage actions so that we don't have to continue forcing you to jump in and out of human or bear form whenever you're trying to interact with quest objects. Now, that's a goal that we have, but it's not something that we can say is going to be achieved. It's just one of
Right.
those. It's something that we would love to be able to present and provide. It's just a question of whether or not we can get enough and then do enough of the work that would be necessary to change all of those existing interactions in the game over to enable that in bear form.
On the
We
one
also
hand,
want
I
to
think it's a
provide some
main
more pieces
issue.
there too.
Sorry, what was that?
No, go on. I was just you can go on.
Okay, I think one of the main issues is one of animations, right? We're looking at having to create a whole bunch of animations, but it's more than just an art task because there is
Yes.
systems work and timing work and all the way it interacts with combat and such that are involved as well.
Yeah, systems, combat, art. Everybody has a hand in that, and unfortunately, because of that, it is a much larger change ultimately than just cleaning up some of the just cleaning up animations or
Yeah.
providing more options in the skins or coloration or whatever else we're planning on doing. And I'm not going to go into what we're planning on doing because we've got a lot of pie in the sky ideas that we would love to get to push out there, but it's going to come down to whether or not those things are ultimately possible by the time that we want to really produce that.
And it's not clear that it would even necessarily be this year. I think if that were the case, you'll hear about it in a future quarterly letter to
Yes,
the players. So,
yes, but it is on the board. We'll give more details as we get closer.
all right. I've got a bunch more questions here. Let's see. We got the quest tracker. We talked about the avatars. I'm not sure exactly what this one means. Any fixing of tunnels be traveling 180 degrees from direction one was traveling? Does that mean anything to you? Some kind of
No,
tunnels being off 180 degrees? I don't know anything about that one.
I
Sorry.
I don't know what that one means.
Okay.
I would need more clarity.
Yeah. We need a battle fishing pole.
There's been
I
there's been talk about
whack them
that
with that. Yeah.
being able to hit them with yeah, that's something that's been brought up
The number of
because
times I've gone into combat with my birding
I
or
know
fishing pole equipped. Yeah.
what we've actually talked about, and it is unfortunately harder to do, is make a hobby equip location so that you can put a hobby item in to a different equipment slot. Um, Again, it's a request that's out there. It's just when do we have the time to build something like that out? Because that's not just a UI task. That's an engineering task, and then a systems chance task. There's more involved than just one little tidbit.
Mile has something, unfortunately, I have to say probably not to, which is a question to me, is saying the kinship calendar is nice, but would it be possible to have the public event schedule incorporated automatically into the kinship calendar? Not as it's normally published, because it's just really a spreadsheet word style doc that I put into a processing program to get up on the website. It's based on really the brains of the game world event system. So in theory, there could be a way where you could mark things in the world event system and then populate it maybe into a kinship calendar. But there's a lot that goes into that world event system beyond the public event schedule portion of it. There's kind of behind the scenes stuff going on that's triggering on and off and things like that isn't suitable for a public display. So I think in theory it might be possible, but I bet the ask would actually be pretty significant. Maybe someday, though.
Someday, like I won't lie, it's on the list. It's one of those things that we do have on the list of things that we would love to add into the game at some point in the future.
Yeah, yeah. Can I be a dwarf lore master? Someone wants to be a dwarf lore master. I don't know.
Did we not unlock that race combo?
I can't remember
We
anymore.
unlocked so many. I can't
Yeah.
remember what we did anymore.
I'm sorry, Box. Oh, I am not sure about your specific issue with a social panel. Someone is saying there may be some kind of social panel bug, and unfortunately, I'm not sure quite what you're asking about there. So perhaps yeah.
It might be tied to resizing in the current bull.
Oh, okay.
I know that the art team is working on trying to get that done. And again, that might be one of the things that does not make it into the 46.1 timeline. That might be one of the things that gets pulled into the 47 timeline. And I did just check up on the lore master for dwarves, and the answer is no. And I remember the reason why now.
Okay.
Because they would be more. They are rune over the lore, so they are more about carving the runes and being more rune keeperish than actually having the lore master aspect of it. That's their magic the other way around.
Okay. When will the new outfit slots be corrected? It's cool to have new ones, but you can't unlock it on the LOTRO store. Sorry, I'm not sure about that one either. It sounds like perhaps a customer service request. I know that
it's actually I can answer that one.
Okay.
It's something that we actually were just talking about internally.
Okay.
And I believe that there are plans to start unlocking those soon. Our trademark soon. The exact date that they're going to go live, we don't know yet, but we are working on making it so that we actually can get them into the store and start offering them out.
Someone is using a term that you might know that I don't, and that term is wire messages. Have you ever considered reworking the technical implementation of the quest system? It's one of the largest wire messages in the game.
I cannot express how fraught that would be. Because we've got so many quests. I think it's like 20 something thousand quests at this point. It's probably more than that. Ultimately, making an underlying change to the quest system in a manner like that would require so much regression and be such a dangerous change that I don't think it's something that is even remotely possible. That does not mean that there aren't some potential solutions that we're looking at for different aspects of the quest system that can be altered in ways that are less dangerous, but no less impactful. It's a weird way to say things, but we're looking at specifically like our dailies and our and like deeds, things that can be altered in different ways and not tax the system as much as they currently do, or to say tax the back end as much as they currently do.
Right, and I think that there's been an increase in player awareness throughout the past year with our transfers and that some of the weight of having all those thousands of completed quests and that does, can have an impact, although we've worked to mitigate that as much as we can.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Are there plans to update content as Angmar and Mordor's level caps increase? I think there means specifically this year. Because we've announced on our public event schedule that got released this week, the cap of up to 115 this year in the public event schedule. And we've had a little bit of player questions about what we're going to do beyond that, which we're not yet in a position to talk about. But as it goes to, let's say, through 115, do you have a general sense of what our plans are for Angmar and Mordor this year?
Yeah, some of what we're trying to do with the Angmar Mordor legendary servers, one is complete the cycle of ring raids, so that each of the ring raids has its moment, and each of them can actually be fought and defeated on the server. The content we've been doing our best to get back to and address some of the existing content issues uh, for the different level bands that we've been going through. Whether or not we are going to be able to tackle all of that is not very clear at this point. We will do our best to address mostly the disparity with rewards is one of the things that we've really been looking at. There's no guarantee we're going to be able to get to all of it, just given where we are in the cycle and how much more gets produced in the traditional server versus the legendary server. And I can't guarantee that we're going to get to all of the content things that you may want to see updated. But we are still trying to make as many updates that we can that kind of smooth out some of the experience that is there.
Yep. I know that there's player questions about the timing as well, and that we'll tackle here, I think, in the coming next couple of weeks or so as we discuss it amongst the team. I know
Yeah.
there's the one that we've got where the raid's coming out. People want an extra month or two on that, so
Yep.
something we could
Yep.
consider maybe. So
It is something we can certainly consider.
yeah. Can we convert Morgul coins to tattered shadows? This is a
Oof.
suggestion request.
Uh, we can
Since the
talk
cap is
about
9 on the
that.
coins.
Yeah, we can talk about that. And I can't really say much more right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I also can't really answer Malice Moose your question about the free transfer plan from Angmar and Mordor at the end of the experience. I could say that we're treating Angmar and Mordor like all of our other legendary worlds, so the expectation that you know today for the legendary worlds is the current plan, and anything further we would need to announce at a future time. If you could get rid of one current game engine limitation with a flick of your fingers, what would it be?
Wow, that's a tough one.
It is.
Uh, if it could be performant, it would be cross server limitations because I'd love to be able to have all the servers play together.
Hmm, that's a good one.
It's just there's just such a limitation on the amount of data that gets passed around that it's just not something that's feasible for us right now.
Yeah. I don't know that I've got an immediate thought on that. I'd have to spend more time thinking about it. I'm sure I could come up with something, but I can't think of it right now.
That's a good one though. I mean, there's so many. There's so many to choose from.
Yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
are very limited by the engine.
Well, I was going to say, in the up until 46.1 here, one of my personal pet peeves has been our splash screens, but our UI update's going to be solving that problem finally. So that's a real positive development for
It
me.
definitely is going to be helping it. I
Yeah,
would love to be able to go back through a lot of the splash screens and fix a lot of the text that's there because
yeah.
it's so much of it is outdated at this point and just needs to be addressed.
But we're for a while because that splash screen was really set in the days of 4.3 monitors, your old
That's true.
CRTs, and
Yeah.
there was some old tech that really was causing the stretching and other issues that we've seen over the years. And 46.1, it's going to at least be in the right non-stretched version with nice little kind of framing in that. It looks so much better to my pet peeve eyes. I
Oh,
just love it. So,
you know what, Cord? It's weird because every time that I've been logging in with the new filigree that's around it,
yep,
I've been like, wow, this looks so much better
it
than it did
does.
before.
Yeah, yeah.
I keep, oh, it's really not the same at all anymore. It's great.
I also am not yet prepared to answer your question, Malice, about whether Angmar will have to transfer to North America and Mordor to EU, or will they be free to region swap? My belief, well, I don't even know if I could speak to that, but my belief is that
Yeah.
historically, as long as there aren't character transfers from other worlds to these worlds, they're region agnostic until you leave these worlds, is typically the way it is. But I can't guarantee that's the case with Angmar and Mordor here right now.
I ain't touching that one with a 30-foot
Yeah.
pole.
So I don't
Not right
know.
now.
I don't know.
Leave that one for Sev.
I,
Sev will answer
right.
that.
I guess I would say that if it is not possible, it's not because we don't want you to. It's almost certainly a technical limitation. All right. I am not interested, Lyron, in getting into a debate about artificial intelligence, so we will skip that question. Sorry. New dye colors is a request, Minad Lair, that we can bring back to probably through the store team. If they're interested in ordering new dye colors and such, perhaps we can do it.
Yep, that's something we can always take a look at.
Yeah, it's true. Like Pixel Linguist is saying that, yeah, like Treebeard, for example, was US EU agnostic, and historically that's been the case. And I want to say my gut tells me that that is the case with Angmar and Mordor, but because we did all this server work this past year, I guess I would need to talk to someone who knows more than me first before saying anything more formal. The question about Orchrist and performance is also a better one for Sev than for us, and I am not seeing a lot of other questions. So
Yeah.
maybe, since we've got a little bit of news on that to get before the end of the day, we will wrap things up. Any kind of final things you want to mention here about the year ahead?
I'm excited about the year ahead.
Yep, me too.
I'm very excited about where we're going. I really am very excited about where we're going. I think it's going to be a pleasant surprise when we make the announcement of where we are headed toward the end of this year.
Yep.
I wish we could say more. Gods, do I wish we could say more. Unfortunately, we really can't right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the year will. We're gonna continue to try to follow like a lot of the same patterns that we have been, where we have the 4 releases across the year, and the middle, we do what we can to make sure that everything continues to flow, and we try to provide as much as we possibly can. But yeah, this is our 19th year, and we're going to be working on our 20th year halfway through this year, very likely, to ensure that we really get our 20th off with a bang.
Yeah, it's very exciting. All right.
Very
Well,
exciting.
otherwise, I would just say what's on the agenda for the next We Have a Cave Troll, because you just did one this past week, and you could find it on YouTube right now, and that was about creating public spaces, which was a really nice conversation. Do you have your next topic?
I don't think that Scenario and I have really had that discussion yet. There's a lot that we can go into though, and I think part of what we'll probably end up discussing is maybe the longevity of the game and what it takes to keep a game like this rolling for as long as it has been, uh, with all of the tribal knowledge that has disappeared or come back over the years, and how that influences and impacts the game overall.
Yeah,
That might be an interesting discussion, and we're going to try to get back to a more even cadence on that, since we did end up not having it since I think it was September at the end of last year, just because of how tight the time constraints became toward the end of the year.
awesome. Well, thank you so much, Orion, for joining me here today. Really
Thanks for
appreciate you
having me,
being
Clint.
here. All right, I am going to quick mute you so you can disconnect and such. There we go. And then I am back. Let me quick swap cameras. Yeah, thank you so much, Orion, for joining me here today. Before I move on to a little bit of news, let's see, there's a little bit of a follow-up. Will we be going to Gen Con this year? Undetermined, but we're thinking about it. We do have, like, say, for example, an event budget request in, and we'll see how that goes. But if it works out, there's a pretty good chance we will be at Gen Con this year. We were there last year at Punch Bowl Social, and frankly, it was a pretty budget-friendly way to do a player meetup. It worked out pretty well. Came in a lot less, frankly, than it does to do it in Boston. So the odds of us being able to maybe do it again are moderate, but we do have to go through the sort of approval process to do this sort of thing and get the funds and get it all done. So I can't say yes yet, but I could say a maybe leaning toward yes in terms of Gen Con for the year. And just because I do have a few people just pegging me about that AI thing that I was asked. Someone just kind of randomly said, can you talk about how we would use AI in the Lord of the Rings Online? And it's such a minefield of nonsense that I just don't want to get into it. We do not in general use AI. We don't use AI. But what does that even mean in 2026? Do you use Photoshop? Guess what? That's AI. Do you use any kind of Microsoft Word program? Guess what? That's AI. Did you ever do a web search? That's AI. So it gets such a thing that I just, it's not a valuable discussion to have right now off the cuff. What about PAX East? I say we're a tentative yes on PAX East for this year. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be a formal player meetup, an informal meetup, or what it's going to be. But we'll do something for PAX East this year for sure. Yeah. AI sucks. That's what I'd say. That's the Cordo statement on it. AI sucks. But, like with other things that suck, it's inevitable. Doesn't matter whether I like AI or not. It's happening anyway. So. All right. Does anyone have the YouTube link to, you said last week's, it's actually this week's, We Have a Cave Troll. If you go to youtube.com/@Lord of the Rings, should be able to find it. All right. Now that we've had that discussion, let's move on to just a little bit more news here before the break, or before the end of the show. I did want to call out, we referenced this earlier, but it's been a busy week. We just got back beginning of last week from the holiday break, and that was largely digging ourselves out from the break and getting going on our 2026 work. And then this week we were able to start deploying some of that. Not only did we do the letter to the players this week, but we also did get our public event schedule out on Monday. You can take a look at that over on LOTRO.com. It does have generally the information for the year about it, like our boost this weekend to 25% crafting XP. That goes through Monday. A lot of people in the United States have Monday off of work due to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. It's a federal holiday that we all have off, and so as a result, you get an extra day of bonus in general because we ain't going in to turn things off. And so this goes through the 19th, shut off on the 20th at 3 a.m. Eastern. We also do have, I believe, the Forester Crafting event is underway. And then next week will be a Virtue XP boost. And you can just kind of see the full schedule over on LOTRO.com there. Before we move on, I would say that we had, I believe, both our second and third Bull Roarer this week, that being based on build. We did a update 2 Bull Roarer during the week this week. But update 46.1 is coming together pretty quickly. And as stated earlier, the tentative release date for this will be January 28th. It's going to include at least a couple of the new instances, perhaps up to 3 of the new instances, our UI scaling, a ton of class work that we referenced a little bit earlier, but you can see over in the Bull Roarer forums. It's actually, despite it being a point update, as you can see, it is actually one of our larger updates in a while. And that's really just due to the length of time that it's been since our last game update in December. Um, holiday related that. I think that is up to speed. So why is the no Q3 and Q4? The no Q3 and Q4 is really because we're doing quarterly updates for these letter to the players rather than a yearly roadmap. And this is something that we've been doing really to be more accurate with what we're able to present. It's more current, more up to date. We talked a little bit at the start about trying to plan a year ahead, and the fact that even this roadmap, for example, has a bunch of plans in place, but until those plans happen, it can be a challenge. Sometimes things move, sometimes things happen, and the more you promise later in the year before you actually get there, the more likely it is that the things you say will prove inaccurate. So instead, we're focusing on really closer quarters, and we're updating this letter quarterly throughout the year. So you'll see Q3 and Q4. Well, really starting with the next one, you'll see Q3, and then the one after that, you should see Q4 up. Cave Troll is not up? Well, that's on me. I believe it is probably sitting there unlisted in YouTube. Let me go and take care of that after the show. Thank you, Folgers. So, any truth to the rumor that you just made up that Dave Grohl will cover for you on future Court of the Rings episodes? It's true. Yep. No, it's funny though. That really is my 2025 takeaway. Is all of a sudden the world decided I look like Dave Grohl. I do a personal podcast on vinyl records, so obviously there's a lot more people who know Dave Grohl in that world. But the number of YouTube and comments on that I've had over the past year saying, "Yeah, you look like Dave Grohl." I mean, it's literally dozens, perhaps even more than 100, in terms of comments. I don't know why. Oh, I kind of look like him, but not that much. So, yeah. I think our chat room right now is a great example of why we shouldn't get into a discussion about AI. Y'all upset, throwing accusations, telling each other you're ignorant. Okay, well, that's why we're not getting into it, is it? All right, we have got about 7 minutes left. Oh, actually, you know what? I think I'm actually just going to end the show a few minutes early. Not because I don't want to hang with you. I'll be here for a few more minutes. But at this point, trying to log into the game and get a little gameplay done doesn't really seem to make a whole lot of sense. So I think we'll just maybe wrap this show up a few minutes early for today. I would mention, and I brought this up last week, but I'm using 2026 to meet some of our company goals and some of my personal corporate goals as well, you know, as the community manager. And one of the things I need to do is carve out a bunch more time to launch and then manage the LOTRO content creator program, in addition to the Dungeons & Dragons online content creator program, in addition to both the DDO and LOTRO discords. 2025 just showed me that I just don't have the work hours necessary to get that done. And I think it's also a little less necessary for me to be streaming gameplay in 2026 here on this live stream. Not that that's not great stuff, but it's that there's a ton of good content creators already doing that. Perhaps that weren't quite doing that 9-10 years ago. So I don't think it's quite as relevant these days. And since I want to also push out more, say, vertical video, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, etc., I know from personal experience YouTube Shorts is where it's at on YouTube in 2026. For example, I need to carve out some hours. So I think what we'll see for these Friday shows is a little bit more targeted weeks. So rather than me doing this every week, it'll be when we have enough of a show to put together like this. When I've got someone like Orion joining me, when we've got news to talk about, when we're doing a preview on Bull Roar, perhaps, when we're doing content previews, as we say, expansion previews and some of those things that we've done. And then what I want to use some of that time for is to instead put together a little bit more edited and produced video. That would be not just me kind of staring at a screen talking about the news, but me staring at a screen talking about the news while a little bit of whatever I'm talking about, added into the content and things like that. So tighter, focused, more digestible, more shareable. Basically not going to make you have to sit through an hour every week, even though some of you like it. And I enjoy doing it. But the reality is the landscape of 2026 is not the landscape of 2016. And so I need to make some changes. So I think the weekly Court of the Rings is not going to be weekly here in 2026. But I'll probably be back next week or the week after that or something like that with Sevon. So that really is what I've got going on. All right. Thank you so much for watching Court of the Rings here on twitch.tv/LOTROstream or YouTube. Really appreciate you being here as well. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a follow and a share if you would. We have got shows all week long from great LOTRO content creators, Tolkien Professor, Druid's Fire, and Big Ed tonight, and a whole bunch of people all weekend long. You can find our full schedule over on LOTRO stream, and I'm actually going to be working to update the calendar as well in the coming days. I would also just say I'm working on getting our soundtracks updated too. I'm going to try to at least get the next LOTRO soundtrack out in the next couple of weeks. And then, yes, Master of Dungeons after Druid's Fire before Big Ed to round out our Friday. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. Have a great LOTRO weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.